56th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Daniel Jones, quarterback, Duke.
Obviously, you don't take Daniel Jones at 6. There is a word for the Daniel Joneses of the world. By the way, even if he turns out to be a great quarterback, you know what it is? It's a phrase. Day 2 guy. You don't have to spend a first-round pick on Daniel Jones. When Gettleman sits up there and says he's a professional quarterback, really, Sherlock? You think you took a professional quarterback?
So Daniel Jones is polarizing, to say the least. Drafted way too high in many people's eyes and plays like he should have been drafted way too low in most occasions. Fan reaction to Daniel Jones' play is usually pretty negative, of course, but he would always show glimmers. A good scramble here, a good deep ball pass there, just to keep hope alive that maybe or eventually Daniel Jones would improve and take that next leap, take that next step that takes Giants to the promised land, that makes him worth that high first-round pick. But as time goes by, that doesn't look like it's going to be the case. Or is it? If we take Daniel Jones and compare him to what we had in the past, let's say Eli Manning as one, through the first 50 games of their career and compare their stats, how would Daniel Jones fare against that? Would he be seen as significantly worse than his counterparts as Giants quarterback? Or would they be a surprising revelation that maybe Daniel Jones isn't as bad as you think, that maybe Daniel Jones is way better than what we've had, or at least on par? But before all that, if you're a cynical Giants fan like me and you want to hear more takes from someone with your perspective on the Giants, a realistic one, hit that like, subscribe, and comment below. Thanks. Let's get started. So I found something while being online recently. I know some of you may have found this through various social media channels or through various social media sources relating to the Giants online. There is a look at 6 Giants quarterbacks through 50 starts. All right, we have attempts, completion, passing percentage, and yards. And if you'll take a look at, let's start with attempts for one. See that roughly in the past 6 quarterbacks we had basically had the same amount of attempts. Of course, as farther you go back, there's a different style of football back then than we have now, where we're just constantly airing it out. But you can see that attempts is relatively the same if you put things into perspective there. You got Daniel Jones at 16.38, Eli Manning at exactly 16.38. Then you got Kerry Collins just killing it, Dave Brown, Phil Simms, another Giants goodie with 14.97. All right, to round all that out. So if we compare it to those guys, relatively the same, Daniel Jones. Now completions. Now it appears that as far as completions go, Daniel Jones is on top here. Again, you can contribute that to the play style of today's game. Maybe they were doing a lot of riskier throws back then, but we know what Eli Manning had, and that was his completions throughout 50 starts. Daniel Jones is better. Now we go on to percentage. Daniel Jones is better here too. Significantly better, actually. The next best is terrible at 58.6. That is kind of crazy. Then we go to yards. Yards, everyone's really about the same. Dave Brown, I guess, that looks a bit rough there. 8.406, that's kind of low, but relatively the same. You got Kerry Collins just knocking it out of the water with an extra roughly 1,200 yards more, roughly, than the average there. Then we go down to TDs. Now Eli Manning significantly had more TDs, but and Frank Tarkenton, 84. That was pretty good. But they have him there. They have him on TDs. I'll say that. Interceptions, though, a lot less interceptions here with Daniel Jones. The turnover machines in most people's eyes. Their turnover machine. Daniel Jones, in most people's eyes, has less interceptions here. Now, they don't have fumbles, so that might even up the playing field here a little bit, but significantly less turnovers through the air for Daniel Jones in this comparison. We go over to quarterback rating, and he's just Daniel Jones is just killing it. The second best is Frank Tarkenton with 84.9 because he was just a touchdown machine apparently back then. And then we have finally record. And we all know, and we're all very familiar with the current quarterback we have, Daniel Jones, and our prolific losing recently, where he is 19-30-1. Nowhere near, not even sniffing 500 anytime soon. Whereas roughly the rest of the quarterbacks on this list were closer to 500 than him. You got Dave Brown and Phil Simms, kinda, a little bit of a similar case to Daniel Jones and their win record. But I'm not going to sit here and act like I could tell you what they had on their roster at the time. But I know what we have on our roster, and it's not very good. I know what Eli Manning had on his first few years on his roster, and it was probably significantly better than we have now. I'll say that. I can tell you that it was significantly better. Eli Manning, Kerry Collins probably had way better situations in compared to Daniel Jones' current station in life with this current roster we have. That's honestly wouldn't be making a starting squad in most scenarios across the league. So I would say there you have it. What you can take away from this, or what I would take away from this, is that Daniel Jones is significantly worse than what we've had in the past, and his situation certainly is significantly worse than what we've had in the past. So if you take those two things into consideration and you kind of use your brain for a second there and be like, well, he's not any worse than what we've had, and in some cases he's a bit better than what we had. And then if you even factor in, which they're not in this statistical breakdown, his rushing yards, he has a lot of rushing yards. He's a very talented athlete, to say the least, and he can scramble. A lot of these guys were not going anywhere. A lot of these guys were not leaving the pocket. So if you factor that in as well, and you add that to his yards, you add that to his touchdowns, right? The scrambling touchdowns that he has sometimes, you're going to see that he's not that much of a drop-off from what we had in the past. And in some situations, he's probably a bit better than what we've had in the past. And then if you compare him and his current situation to what some quarterbacks we had in the past had to deal with, I mean, it's not even a contest. This is terrible. The best thing we got is Saquon, and he can't do anything because everything else is so bad. So there you have it. I'll just leave it at that. Like and subscribe for more Giant takes from a realistic fan such as yourself. Goodbye.